Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Train Sim World 5 ASMR. Yeah, I know I haven't updated a video in like 2 months. Me and my wife have really been busy with work and dealing with ministry work. We've been out of town taking care of a lot of stuff, but I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be making videos. So we are currently, yeah, check out our new Chrysler 300 with the Hellcat swap. We even got the red key. But anyways, alright. So we're down here in the San Bernardino yard. We are going to be picking up these clinch filled SD40s, and we are going to be making a fuel delivery. Our fuel tankers are down this line right here that I'm currently standing on, but we are going to have to cold start all three of these, get everything set up for travel, and we'll let dispatch know what we're doing once we get all this started. So let's go ahead and climb up. And once we get hooked up and we start moving, I will switch off the mic because this still is ASMR. I'm only going to talk whenever I'm explaining what's going on. So let's go in here and get these things started. Man, it's been a while. I hope I can remember how to do this, but we're going to start in the back and work our way forward. Now, these things are supposed to be ready to go, supposed to be fueled up. Maintenance is done. So we shouldn't have any problems. These are some of the oldest SD40s that they still have out here on the yard. You can look at the gauges and stuff. You can tell this is some old stuff. This is like the oldest SD40s I think that they got on here. But anyways, let's go ahead. So if you're getting ready to start, first of all, we got to have all of our lights on. Definitely platform. We are going to, leave this control from another unit coupled at either end. We're going to leave that there. Alright, before we can do this, we got to turn on our engine run, generator field, and fuel pump. We can go ahead and turn on some step lights and the gauge lights. Alright, now you want to make sure this is set to trail. You want your brakes to cut out because you don't want this to be dragging brakes. And we're going to go ahead, set this into the start position. We're going to prime the fuel pump. Alright, and then you're going to hold engine start for at least 8 seconds and it should start up. Alright, that should do it. Let's wait. Should be able to hear it start up. There it goes. Alright. Alright, now that it's started, you want to put this in the run position. That way your generator will build power and this will be assisting the other locomotives pull the load. But remember, trail, out, all three of these in the on position, and make sure that this is in run, because if you leave it in start, it ain't going to do anything. And this, we're going to be controlling our headlights with the front locomotive. Go ahead, close. Dang, did I leave the back? No, I got it. Alright, shut this so we don't hear that other engine. Alright, same thing. Unit. Come on. Here, let me just sit down because it's a little bit easier for me to do it like this. Yep, there we go. Gauge lights. Alright, let's check the brakes. That's set on cut out and trail, so we're ready to start. Prime the fuel pump. Alright, let's see, this one should start up. There it goes. check everything. Trail out. Alright. Door shut. Well, we got some rumbling going on just with two of these things. Last one. Now this one we're going to set up a little bit different. We're going to leave this one set up on single or intermediate. Alright, we're going to set this on short end because short hood is leading right here. So, alright, let's go ahead and sit down so I can actually get to this stuff. Whoa. My bad. I got to get used to controlling this camera again. Okay, we do want our lights on, gauge lights. Alright, now this one's going to be a little bit different. So we are going to set this to freight. Okay, leave that on full application. This is release. And then this is going to be, okay, so this one's already set to lead. Alright, and start position. Starter. Alright, so that will be it for this. Put this in run position. And we're going to leave that door open. It's like in the middle of May on here, so I know it's got to be hot in this train. Kick these windows open. Heck, I'll even open up the back door. Alright. So before we even start moving, you know, let's check our brake pressure. Our brake pressure is good. Let's throw in our reverser handle. Alright. Now, we're going to get on the dispatch. We're going to set our path for our locomotive. We got to move up the line a little bit. We'll get up to, let's see. We're going to have to change. Yep, because it's one track over. No, it's this one right here. Either way, we're just gonna pull up here real quick, and that should be sufficient enough to clear the switch track. So let's go right here to make sure. All right. Alright, now this selector, that lets you know you can actually only pull 4 of these locomotives at one time. That's it. That's the max. We only have 3 behind us, so we only need 3 operational. So now that we got that, we're going to do a amp test and see if we build any amps. Let's see. Yeah, we're building amperage, so it's trying to pull. Now we are on a grade, so it's going to try to roll backwards on us. So we're going to have to do this like you would slip a clutch in a car. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. Get some outside views real quick of this takeoff. I'm going to be using a dynamic camera where it stays with the train, because using the other one, like where it's free and it's not following the train, it will freeze the game up if your train gets long enough. So I figured that out from playing before, because I am running in 4K, 60 frames per second, trying to give y'all the best quality. So land our drone right up here on top of the train. This is a pretty good view, and let's go back in the cab. Alright, we're moving now. We don't need the bell no more. We're a little bit over the speed limit, but it's going to be okay. Technically on a run like this, you're gonna have another person with you, so we'll act like Jim's over here with us today, and he's gonna be in the drone camera view, because Jim would be having to get out of this train and go to the back to undo the couplers on the rear locomotive and the couplers on our tankers. But you know what, I can do it all by hand, it ain't no big deal. We're going to run this one solo today. Yeah, we've got an outside camera view, we've got a whole train set up over there. Serious grade does not want to go up here. Alright, that should be good enough. I'm going to pull a little bit past this and make sure our rear locomotive is cleared the switch track. Alright, let's go ahead and hit it with the brakes. Alright. Let's get on to dispatch. We're going to set path to, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be going right here. Alright, now, we're going to make sure all of the switch track change. Sometimes they don't change. You always want to check this, and everything's looking good. Alright, so, technically, Jim would have to get down here and walk down past the train, and he would have to get back here and hang out on the back, and he would have a radio. He would be telling me, alright, let's go. So we're going to do it like that. Let this thing in reverse, power up. Now remember, we're on a grade, so you ain't going to need very much power. Well, that horn is serious on here. We'll have to work our independent, because we're rolling down a hill right now. Good, looking good. Who's blowing all them horns out here? Must be somebody we know. Coming in a little hot, it's giving us a warning. We're going to be taking this load to the Hesperia yard north of here, picking up 2 SD40s, combining them with this train. They're BNSF, and we will deliver these to the North Hesperia yard and uncouple, and we'll take the SD40s and connect it to a train, a mixed freight train that is headed south, and we'll be bringing that back here and hopefully picking up a really large load and headed all the way up to I'll have to check the list again before I say where we would head. I'm not really sure. That's too far ahead. Stuff can change so quick in here. Because we're actually running in a live timetable. There's other trains moving around on here too, so somebody else may snag or load before we get there, depending on how long it takes us. I don't know if this coupler's open, but we're going to stop in time. Give a courtesy honk. Alright. We'll try to get this as close as we can without hitting it. Alright, full brakes. Alright, so we got our independent throat all the way on. We're going to knock this out and we'll go back there and go undo the coupler. On the other trains, you can just dive off of them. I hope there ain't no safety guy around. Better be looking for them white hats, son. Alright, let's see. Where's our coupler at? Oh, there we go. Alright, unlock. We gotta make sure that this one's unlocked. And we're not gonna release the brake on this because it's gonna roll down the hill if we do, so let's get connected first. Actually, Jim left us. This is going to be Frank back there now. Alright. Oh, well, wait a minute. Frank got on the wrong locomotive. He needs to be back here. Alright, so we should just be able to release brakes since we're on a 1% grade, and it should roll back into it with enough force to couple. There we go. Back up because we got to go release that handbrake. Alright, so right here, this is what was, see it all just moved just then. I don't think none of the other ones are set because I heard everything move. It was just that one. Yeah, alright, so we're good. Now we can let dispatch know where we're going. Turn on some AC up in here. We fixing to start this journey. Alright, let me shut all these windows so all that noise ain't going on. Alright. So, we're in, we're good, brake pressure's looking good, so we are ready to go. We gotta make sure dispatch can clear us. So, this is our train right here. This is it right here, this whole blue deal. It's not too big, it's pretty decent size, but we're gonna be going all the way through here. Alright, now right here is where the SD40s are that we got to pick up. You can see, look, there's another train going down the line now. But anyways, we got to pick up these SD40s, so we're probably going to come in on this track. And, well, what I'll probably do is uncouple, come back down, swoop back into here, and I gotta figure out, yeah, probably grab these, and then I'll come back up and we'll swap them around. I'll push the SD40s into here, uncouple, move them up. That way our other ones, well, we'll just get up here and get it. We'll figure all that out once we get here. So we want to come in to right, let me zoom in so it gets this right there. Alright, dispatch did clear us, so like I said, I'm going to be using the dynamic camera. Normally I parked the little drone right up here on top of the train because you got some good outside views. I'll you know, do some 360 views, some takeoffs. We'll get it all in here, but other than that, enjoy the ride to Hespa.